In this video, let's look at why lightning or surge arresters are recommended at tie points, takeoffs, or when bare wire changes to insulated wire or vice versa. Let's first understand what a flashover is. There are several insulating materials on a power line. To name a few, there are various types of ceramic insulators, standoffs, PVC, rubber-like polymers coating the conductors, and even the air surrounding these equipment. These insulation materials can successfully insulate for a certain voltage level that they are rated for. If a voltage larger than the insulators are designed for appears across them for a large enough time, then their insulating properties may fail. When such a failure occurs, arc may be formed or flashovers may happen, both of which can be hazardous to personnel, pedestrians, and infrastructure. Now with that in mind, let's move on to lightning strikes and surge arresters. When lightning strikes a power line, it travels on the power line in the form of a high voltage surge, in other words a high voltage wave, which is shown here in orange. Let's make a few assumptions here. Assume that poles 1, 2 and 3 do not have surge arresters on them. Spans from pole 1 all the way to pole 3 are bare conductors. On the other side of pole 1, which is not shown here, assume that conductor properties differ. Either the conductor beyond pole 1 is from a different manufacturer or built for different specifications, or it is an insulated conductor. Similarly, assume that beyond pole 3 the conductor properties are different. Let's suppose that lightning strikes the conductor around pole 2. A high voltage wave is generated and it travels on all possible paths, which in this case is to the right and left sides of pole 2. Part of the high voltage wave that originated at pole 2 travels to pole 3, where due to difference in conductor properties, part of it gets transmitted, part of it gets reflected. The reflected wave travels back to pole 2 and on to pole 1, where it again sees a difference in conductor properties, and therefore part of this already reflected wave, AV, gets reflected for the second time back to pole 2. Let's represent the portion of the wave reflected at either ends by a coefficient A. A voltage wave V2 originates at pole 2 and travels to pole 3. Reflected wave AV2 travels back from pole 3 to pole 1, where part of it gets reflected again, and so wave A square V2 travels back from pole 1 all the way to pole 3 and so on. Now suppose it takes time t for the lightning surge that originated at pole 2 to reach the nearest lightning arrestor which is able to discharge the lightning surge to ground. And this lightning arrestor may be 4 spans away and is not shown here. During this time t, that is by the time the surge finds a path to ground, assume that 2 reflections take place at pole 1. Therefore, the largest possible wave seen by pole 1 by the time the surge discharges to ground will be the sum of all waves present at pole 1 at that time t. That is V1 plus AV1 plus AV2 plus A square V2. This results in a voltage buildup at pole 1. Larger the time t, more the number of reflections allowed to happen, more the number of waves that get superimposed at pole 1, and more the resultant voltage. This is why points like pole 1 and pole 3 are often termed as electrically weak or as potential breakdown or flashover points. If the weak points fail, flashovers happen. For those reasons, to discharge a lightning surge as quickly as possible before the weaker points fail, arresters are recommended at potential breakdown points and at every couple thousand feet.